listening to the City World Radio Network, high-definition digital radio broadcasting from the city to the world. www.cityworldradio.com.
Hey, hello world, this is AC Lowe, and this is the AC Lowe Show over the City World Radio Network. We broadcast to you live, I say live again, every Monday night at 7 p.m. from 132 Mulberry Street in the heart of Little Italy, in the heart of New York City, in the heart of the main town, United States of America. Let's say thank you to everyone who's been listening to our program, all of our programs here on City World Radio. The people in Australia, thank you very, very much, especially in Canberra. We got your message and we appreciate it. We disagree with you, but we appreciate it anyway. And to the people in the Aleutian Islands who listen every single week, even to the old Centani Network, we appreciate you listening all the time, and we look forward to entertaining you again. We have a wonderful show this evening with extremely interesting guests, which we always have. For those of you on YouTube, I know that you went, oh, look, I just punched you in the nose. For those of you on YouTube, I know that you went to www.youtube.com, and then you went and put in the AC Lowe Show. That's ACLOWE, the AC Lowe Show, and you get about 20 or 30 shows, and you pick and choose the one you like. Other than that, if you're listening to this broadcast live, you went to www.cityworldradio.com, and here we are. You've got us. And if you want to hear another show in the past, when you go there, you just click the Listen Live microphone, which you see on our website, and open the envelope, and you'll see all of our shows archived for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Scroll to the one you like, click it, and you've got us again in high-definition digital stereo broadcasting to the world. This evening, to my immediate left, and I don't know how it looks on the camera, I forget if it's right or left when you're looking at me. To my immediate left, we have, well, let's go to my extreme left. Let's have beauty first, okay? To my extreme left, our good friend who's been a guest on our show and on the Bill Russo Show several times, the wonderful, talented Stephanie Wilson.
Stephanie Wilson, hi out there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And Stephanie does a variety of things. She's a filmmaker. She is an actress by trade. She is a dancer, a director, a producer, and a screenwriter, and a playwright, and does so many other things. She's going to talk to you about all of her projects, and it's all very, very exciting. And to my immediate left, we have Harold Hal Spielman, who's written a book very close to my heart, and the name of the book is Suddenly Solo, about people about men and women too, who suddenly find themselves alone in the world because they've lost their spouse or their partner. And having been in that situation myself, I understand exactly what the book is about and what we're talking about. So we'll be talking with Hal about that later on. Hal, let's start with you. What brought you to writing this book? Many people find themselves widows or widower, and they don't write a book. How did you get to that place?
Well, after my wife passed away, I was lost. A lot of little things that I didn't know about. For example, I didn't know where the checkbook was. It seems like such a small thing, but I had to pay some bills. And fortunately, my daughter-in-law, my wife was the youngest of 7 children, big Italian family, and my sister-in-law knew exactly where everything was, and she came to my rescue. But it occurred to me that there are a lot of other men particularly out there that are bouncing around loose. They just don't know what to do. I ran into one fellow in doing my interviews, and I interviewed over 1,000 men. We did.
Yeah, my understanding was that you interviewed almost 1,600 people.
Yeah, 600 over. Well, my field was market research, so I just applied the techniques that I would use for major corporations, any place in the world. We had operations in 53 countries. I'd apply the same techniques to trying to understand how people who have already been in that situation, how are they coping? And that led to 7 different research studies. But I'd run into things like this guy who was a white shirt guy. He didn't know where to get his shirts done. It seemed so simple. But I'm talking to him, and he said, yeah, I didn't know where my shirts were done. All I knew is I took off my white shirts, I threw them in the laundry, and I always had a drawer full of new shirts.
Wow.
or freshly washed shirts. Didn't know how they got there. Well, that was an interesting experience for him to
Let me ask you this. This would be, I assume, when a spouse is lost suddenly. Because if a spouse is ill, they're unable to perform those tasks for
well, that gives you more. That gives you more time.
Yeah.
But still, the final activities still leave you alone and up in the air, and particularly for many men, because men don't have support groups. Women do. I mean, the coffee clutch is a woman's invention, not a man's invention. So they have support groups.
Such a shame. I like coffee so much.
But you don't have a coffee clutch. So it's you having your coffee. It's not you having your coffee.
You're right.
With five of your buddies.
You're right.
But that's what women do, and men don't. And so they're confronted with a whole new social situation that they are unfamiliar with. I mean, the traditional pattern, as we talked before, we both went the traditional way. We met a woman when we were in high school or college. We got married because, hey, there was no premarital sex 40 years ago. You wanted some activity. You got married. And now you get to a point where particularly with the baby boomers, with this enormously high divorce rate, they're being confronted, as the widowed men in our 60s and 70s are being confronted with being alone and being in a whole new social environment that was not the same as the one they knew 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. So the book is aimed at helping them get through this. The book is actually very funny.
Yes, I've read it in excerpts, and there are some very humorous passages there.
This is a serious topic, and we have serious research. We did about $200,000 in research, so it's a very serious data source. But who wants to read a research book? So we wrote it as a light, humorous book with a lot of hints, a lot of narratives, a lot of personalization, but very easy to read. And the surprise to us, Amazon has come back to us and say, well, more women are buying the book than men. And that was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, and you aimed it at men.
We aimed it at men.
Specifically, but I could see where it would be very similar for a woman as well. Just as a person that's experienced this, and at a much younger stage in life, I had always taken care of myself. And so those things that you alluded to, that really didn't fit my situation. What I wanted to discuss here was the emotional aspect of the loss, and if you were a caregiver, the second guessing of the caregiver process, which I've had several people on this program who've written books about how you finally shed yourself from that. Some people even blame themselves, even though they may have worked around the clock for 5 years taking care of someone. They find fault with themselves. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. And unfortunately, and quite normal for human behavior, in many cases, the family of the departed became alienated with the person that took care of their loved one for such a long time while they were nowhere to be found. And in order to kind of salve their own wound, try to find blame, because how do you say, well, gee, I didn't come around for 5 years and I'm sorry. Well, how come you didn't go to this doctor? And why didn't you do the other thing? And stuff of that nature, which is a very, very difficult thing.
Well, there's always a lot of second guessing going on.
Especially by those who
and everybody knows he's the best doctor.